Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to welcome Wyndham Clark to his first Masters tournament. Thank you for joining us. Wyndham, congratulations, what an incredible year you've had, including winning the 2023 US Open Championship. And you're a rare case of someone who's already won a major championship, yet will be debuting here in the Masters tournament. What are some of your initial impressions of Augusta National ahead of your first tournament?
Well, it's lives up to all the hype, that's for sure. I've always dreamt about this place, and I've watched pretty much every Masters since I was, probably 5 years old. So to finally be here and to experience it in person is pretty spectacular. And yeah, it's living up to the hype. So I'm really hoping that I bring my game this week and really get to enjoy everything that Augusta National and the Masters tournament has to offer.
Thanks. We're going to open it up to some questions. Is that Brentley?
Wyndham, does the fact that a first-timer hasn't won here since '79, is that extra motivation? Like, are you the type of guy to hear that stat and makes you want to win it even more? Or?
Yeah, I mean, that's, stats like that are meant to be broken. So, I know it's a tall task. It's a challenging golf course. There's a bunch of good golfers. With that said, you still have to match. You have to still bring your game, so it's not like you can just flip a switch and win it. But yeah, that would be an amazing accomplishment. And I like my chances. I really like myself on this golf course. I feel good on a lot of the tee shots and approaches, and there's so much creativity. So I feel good coming into the week.
Jeff?
Wyndham, two things. Update on how your back's feeling. And then, we know you kind of waited to come here and finally see the golf course. What would you say is maybe caught you by surprise or is different than what you expected in how it plays?
So first question, the back, it's good. It was just, I simply blew it out, or threw it out, not blew it out, threw it out in the gym, and it was just one of those muscle things, and it was painful. But fortunately I got a great team around me, and they got me to be able to play only 2.5, 3 days later, which was pretty remarkable. And as I got to Saturday, Sunday of that event, I started feeling more normal, and then last week I was able to swing. So back's good. What was your second part of the question?
The golf course, just kind of what's different than what maybe you expected, or any surprises knowing you've watched it for a long time, but now finally having come here and played it?
Let's see. I think how open some of the holes are. When you get to hole 9 and 18, just how it's wide open and it's not all in the trees. That's probably one. And then I'd just say the difference that come tournament week, how firm and fast the greens are versus when you come here 6-8 weeks ago and it's nice and receptive. That's a little bit of a difference. But, the good thing is I've had so many guys tell me all about it, the undulations and the greens. And you hear so much as a pro and people talking about it in weeks, leading up to the Masters and after the Masters, they talk about it. So I've always kind of heard those little tidbits. So I wasn't too shocked of anything. It's just more of being here and just enjoying everything that Augusta National has to offer.
Gary?
Wyndham, next month you'll defend for the first time. So a year ago you hadn't won, and since then you've done a ton. So to go from where you were, whether it was self-defeating or whether it was fight or flight and you would flight as opposed to fight, how have you flipped the script? What have you done to go from somebody who had immense talent to somebody who now has refined skill and belief?
It's a lot of hard work. It wasn't as simple as just flipping a switch and being able to start winning tournaments. I put a lot of time and effort in, both in the physical part and the mental part of the game. And, in a short time of a year, I find myself with 3 wins and going from being a nobody to somewhat of a somebody. So it's been an amazing 12 months, and I'm really looking forward to the next 12 months. So I chalk it up to just a lot of hard work on the mental game.
Daniel?
You mentioned trying to enjoy all the things that Augusta National has to offer, but you're the highest ranked debutante in the history of the tournament. You're number 4 in the world. You're already a major champion. How are you kind of reconciling trying to enjoy the first experience, but obviously expecting a lot out of yourself?
That's a good question. I treat it honestly like any other tournament. I mean, I know this is the premier tournament in golf and at the most iconic venue. And yeah, I'd love to have a great week. But at the same time, yeah, I am a rookie in this event. So I'm trying not to put the expectations too high. And I really do just want to enjoy it. My first goal is to be mentally ready for day one. So I'm not thinking about the tournament as a whole, just more focusing on my round 1 on Thursday and then focus on Friday and Saturday and Sunday. So
Usually enjoy playing golf tournaments?
yeah, I love competing. When I'm home just playing with the guys, if there's not something on the line, my focus isn't there, and I've always really enjoyed competition, and especially at the highest level, it makes me even more focused and kind of brings that excitement level, and that's really why I love the game of golf.
Dylan?
Yeah, Wyndham back here. I know you're trying to treat this tournament like any other tournament, but what feels different about the Masters so far compared to any other tournament?
Well, I definitely think the lead up, before I even got here, it's amazing how just friends and family and random people I see back home in Scottsdale, or people just saying, man, good luck at the Masters, and bringing up the Masters, where when I'm going into a regular PGA Tour event, they're not necessarily saying that. That's probably the first thing. And then, I just would say the overall ambiance is amazing here, and the patrons are so good at kind of respecting the golf, but yet still being great, showing excitement when we hit good shots, but then being respectful when we're playing. And so you just have this feel when you're at this golf course and at this tournament that is unlike any other.
And do you trick yourself into thinking that it's not a bigger deal than any other tournament, or do you kind of like acknowledge it and take it head on? What's the strategy there?
I mean, it's golf. At the end of the day, it's putting the golf ball in the hole as fast as possible. And, the good thing is I came and did a couple visits here, and I wanted to try to get the awe of Augusta National kind of out of the way, so that when I showed up this week, it's all business, and I can just focus on the golf at hand. And I've done that well in this last year, and so I know I'm going to have the first tee jitters when I step up on one and put the ball on the peg and have to hit it. But I'm really hoping that when we get to hole 2 or 3 or 4, I'm pretty relaxed, and I just get about my business and do my job.
Gary?
How many rounds total have you played now here? And when was the last time you anticipated an event as much as?
So I played 4 rounds. It was 2 separate trips. We got about 72 holes in. They were all so blessed. They were all great weather days. I've heard some stories of guys playing in some pretty severe weather, so I was very blessed to have good weather. I don't think I've ever put so much anticipation into an event. The only thing I could think of is when I was younger, trying to, qualify for my first USAM, and thinking about it so much, and didn't make it 3 or 4 times, and then finally qualifying for the USAM, and then making it. I built it up a lot, and you're practicing all summer and getting ready for it. So this would be kind of, that was the first one, and this is the next one. But, the one thing I am hoping is that this is one of many Masters, and but you always remember your first, and so I'm really soaking it in and enjoying it.
Sean?
Wyndham, you've done a good bit of winning the last year, and that followed a period of not winning. Is there some aspect of getting it done that feels easier once you've done it, that feels simple, that you didn't think was simple beforehand?
Yeah, I think you just learn a lot. I remember my first 4 or 5 years on the PGA Tour, I learned all the ways of how not to win and how not to handle myself in pressure moments. And as I've now found myself in more of those moments, I feel so much more relaxed. My thoughts are slower. I'm taking everything as it comes, and I'm also impressing myself too. I'm hitting shots under pressure that maybe I couldn't have done a couple years ago, and maybe I wasn't as nervous as I thought I would have been. So I just think the more and more you're in contention, the more comfortable you get. And, I think that's been true for me. I've just gotten to where I embrace the moments and love being in those situations.
James?
And sort of a similar question here, but I'm wondering, do you think there's a mental difference between those who are capable of winning major championships and those who are not?
A mental difference?
Yeah.
I'd say the toughest thing is I'm trying to think. I think there's a difference between people that can win consistently on the PGA Tour and at majors, and maybe someone that wins every once in a while. I think if you win once every blue moon, I think that's just a great week, and you really had everything click in that week. But I think to win multiple times and in majors, I think that there is a little bit of a mental shift. And I'm not saying I know what that shift is, but I know I worked really hard in the mental game. And so when I found myself, leading the U.S. Open and then winning a U.S. Open, to me, it felt like a regular event. And I think maybe if that's the shift, I think that's what needs to be done, because I got out there and I felt really calm and relaxed last year at LACC. So, I don't really know the answer to that question, but for me, that's kind of the case.
Anne?
Hi, Wyndham. What would be one of your fondest memories of watching the Masters?
I would say probably when Tiger, I don't know if it's that 05, when he chipped in and had that epic hole out on 16, because my dad was here. It was his first Masters he ever attended, and he got to go. And I remember, because he was there, I was, a little boy, I was trying to see if I could see my dad in the crowd. And then, then obviously watching the tournament, and then my favorite player wins the tournament. So that's probably the most fond memory. And, and for me, that's right as you're able to play golf in Colorado. So I remember going out and practicing in between, kind of when Tiger was teeing off, or if there was a lag in the the airtime. So, just those memories are pretty exciting and amazing for me.
Brody?
And as much as your level has risen in the last year, how much, away from the course has that kind of changed your life in terms of, okay, now you are a bigger name, you have more obligations, you're doing the Tuesday press conference before a major. What has that kind of added to this past year?
It's something I've always wanted, and it's something that has always kind of been frustrating for me, having some success in college and thinking that I could maybe have this success right away when I first turned pro, and then not having it was always frustrating. And peers of mine and friends of mine would be doing the pressers on Tuesdays and Wednesdays of tournaments and being talked about in all the interviews, and I'm on the range grinding all day, and no one knows my name and really cares to know my name. And so now it's nice. It's honestly, this is more than almost the winning and the winning and anything that comes with that. I feel where my place is in the world as far as the golf rankings the most when I have the press releases and things like this, because I go, okay, this is where the top players usually are on a Tuesday or Wednesday. So for me, it's exciting. I like doing this stuff because it's something I've worked really hard to get here to do.
Michael?
Excellent shirt. You don't see that a lot.
Thank you.
I'm wondering the situation Saturday in the rough at Bay Hill, and then you saw it on tape later. Did it make you change your approach to how you'll address the ball when it's deep and rough like that?
Yeah, it's when we finished that round, we had no idea why the officials were in there, and obviously when you watch the tape, maybe it doesn't look good. I mean, the one thing in my defense is I'm setting the club down. I feel like I have the right and freedom to be able to set the club down where I want. I wasn't trying to improve my lie by any means. But yeah, it's definitely something I talked about with my caddy, and he's like, hey, you know, the camera's on us more. Not that I was doing anything wrong prior to that when the cameras weren't on us, but every little thing we do is magnified when the cameras are on you. So yeah, I mean, I maybe now have to be a little more conscious of not putting the club down as much. But yeah, I mean, you just have to really watch what you do under the microscope, and it's unfortunate that it maybe looked poorly on camera, but you know, the one thing is I was laying up regardless, and I still laid up, so I didn't think I enhanced the lie by any means.
If you don't mind, but just going forward then, but do you feel like you'd be a little less assertive about putting that club behind the ball, or did it change anything for you going forward, that experience?
I think that was a one-off unique experience. You know, I definitely will, in my mind, go, okay, I don't want to have any question that I'm trying to do anything that's like cheating or anything illegal. So I will be definitely more aware of it, but I mean, I've been doing what I did for years, and no one's ever called me out on it. So I don't know if I'm necessarily going to change it. I might just be more aware and make sure that the optics also don't look like I'm doing something wrong.
Very much.
William?
Wyndham, having played multiple practice rounds now and also watched the tournament for many years, as you've said, do you have any theories about why someone hasn't, so few people have won it on their first try?
I mean, some guys have been close, and I mean, in anyone's defense, it's pretty hard to win in general. I mean, there's guys that have, you know, great players that are out on the PGA Tour still haven't won, or maybe they've won one time in a 10-year career. So it's very tough just to win in general, let alone at a major where everyone builds it up to be bigger than it is. But with that said, you know, I mean, no one thought I could win the U.S. Open being the first time in contention. So I think things are meant, you know, records or curses or whatever they are meant to be broken. And, you know, if it's not me this week, it could be Ludwig or someone else that does it. I think the guys that are playing professional golf now have gotten so good, and I don't think we really listen and think of those things. We just, you know, see the golf ball and put it where we want to put it, and wherever, you know, the ball ends up, we go and hit it again and try to win a golf tournament regardless of where we're at.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. And Wyndham, thank you. Best of luck this week.
Thanks, guys.